Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is once again a reading of Player vs. Player by Reyna on AO3. This is a violent work of fan fiction, so if you don't like that or if it's triggering for you, I would please go do something else. And without further ado, please enjoy my reading. Thank you. I'm a coward. What else is new? Sasha spins around so fast that the wind ruffles the cattails against the walls. She loosens her footing and goes stumbling back into the empty bed. Anne holds up her hands placatingly. Slowly, she emerges from the shadow of the doorway, and in the light, she looks remarkably normal. Almost like nothing has happened. The empty space where her left hand should be sends shivers up Sasha's back. It's okay, I just want to talk. Sasha freezes like a deer caught in the headlights. Her eyes dart back and forth around the room, looking for an escape. Anne is between her and the door. She contemplates the window. Hey. Anne steps forwards, and Sasha's eyes snap up to her. Fear dilates her pupils, and almost absently, she begins pushing herself up onto the bed, backing away from Anne. Anne stops, noticing, and drags in a deep, calming breath. It's okay, Sash. I'm not mad. Sasha freezes. She doesn't breathe, doesn't move, doesn't even blink. She freezes and stares at Anne like she's been confronted by a ghost. You're not mad? Anne winces at the shout, then takes a hurried step backwards as Sasha shoots upwards. Not mad? Sash, no! She advances on Anne. No, you don't get to call me that. You don't get to stand there and say you're not mad. You don't get to look at me in the face with... Her breathing comes in gasps, each faster and shallower than the last. Her entire body is shaking, trembling in the light, and as she takes another step, her legs give out. Sasha! Anne surges forward to try and catch her, but Sasha shoves her off. You don't get to pity me. It's a little more than a growl. I cut off your arm. You don't get to be nice to me. Sash, I could have killed you. Sasha shouts this more sullenly. Her hands clap over her mouth. I could have killed you. Oh God, I could have killed you. Oh God, She retches. Slowly, carefully, Anne stretches out a hand and finally manages to touch Sasha, even if it is only to pat her back as she attempts to throw up. A couple of strings of spit are all she gets out. Eventually, the heaving ends, but Sasha's skin has already become clammy and cold. She's wheezing with every breath. Please, she whispers, soft and fragile. Please just be mad at me. Please, please. Anne stares, wide-eyed and stunned, as Sasha cries, Hate me. She's not even looking at her. Her eyes are screwed so tightly shut, she doesn't know how the tears manage to escape. Please, please just be angry with me. Anne looks like she wants to be sick. Sasha, please, just... Suddenly, violently, Sasha swirls on her, and she can hear metal scraping on leather. All of the warmth goes rushing out of the room. Somewhere, steel is scraping against steel, and 2 pinpoints of crimson have arisen in the dark, glistening like unfeeling pools of blood. Then something metal is pressed into Anne's remaining hand. Anne snaps back into the present, and finds herself staring Sasha down. The moon is behind her, and it paints her hair a rusted pink. Make it even! Sasha hisses the words, little more than an escape of breath, and although her cheeks are wet with tears, her eyes are steel. She holds up her hand, and it trembles. Anne drops the sword. Metal clangs against the linoleum floor, and the sound alone would send Anne stumbling back. Would, but the girl on her hands and knees with her arm held out for the gallows already has her scrambling to her feet. Her breath is tight in her lungs, like they're fit to burst. They creak against her ribs as, despite her best attempts, she can't seem to exhale. She can barely breathe in. The moon's light catches on the abandoned blade, and this scene is so very, very familiar. Sasha's hand slowly reaches down to grab the sword by its grip. Anne screams. "Captain Marcy!" Miserably, Marcy drags her gaze up from where she was attempting to make sense of several scribbles on a page that she thinks is supposed to be a report of some kind. She doesn't know and can't find it within herself to care. Everything hurts. Her joints ache, her eyes burn, and her hands won't stop shaking. Every breath makes her ribs creak, and the light from the lanterns is enough to make her want to go lay down in the dark for a couple hours. But she has a job to do. The city is depending on her. Anne is depending on her. She has to be the rock right now because Anne can't. She's tired, not blind, and she knows when Anne is putting up a front, no matter how convincing it is, no matter how good she's gotten at hiding it. Anne isn't okay. But she can't do anything about it other than try her hardest to be the strong one. A blue blur is running toward her desk. That doesn't seem right. She reaches up to press her fingers against her eyes and tries to rub them back into use. When she opens them again, the world is still blurry and the blue thing has reached her. It doubles over, heaving for breath. She knows she's had a stressful couple of days, but certainly not enough for this, right? Whatever, she'll just brush it off and pick up another cup of coffee in the break room. It's been a couple hours since the last one anyway. The mountain of empty cups in her trash can once was begging to differ. What's the problem? Her feet push her to a standing position, and she forces herself to ignore how shaky the ground feels beneath her. There's a... Captain Marcy, are you all right? Peachy. She fumbles her way through the office, being careful not to step on the mounds of paperwork she knows are there, even if they look more like white smudges at the moment. Finding the door is a bit of an expedition, but not one that she hasn't performed before. I will assume that's a human phrase. I'm fine. Now, what's got you so bananas? The blur, who Marcy assumes is a newt that she should probably be able to recognize, mumbles something under their breath. She ignores it and instead trudges down the hallway. Muscle memory alone can tell her where the coffee machine is. An intruder was discovered inside the city walls. A hum makes its way through Marcy's throat before she's even fully processed the sentence. I assume they've already been brought to the city prison? Affirmative. She nods, contemplative, and drops the old coffee filter into the trash. What sector are they in? 12. She begins pouring coffee grounds into the filter and feels her brows furrowing. Usually, the scent of coffee alone is enough to make her perk up just a bit, but right now she can't even tell if her nose is working. Everything feels so heavy and exhausting. 12, where is 12? The hospital district? She questions, and nearly loses her grip on the coffee grounds. Affirmative. Slowly, she raises her head to look at the blur in the face, or at least what she assumes is its face. Have they already been put through questioning? They are being interrogated as we speak. A weight has dropped into Marcy's gut, and she doesn't like it one bit. Do we know what their target was? We have an idea. Lieutenant, I'm a corporal. Close enough. Don't beat around the bush with me. I'm on an incredibly tight schedule and cannot afford to waste time on niceties. Why was this brought to me and not the Department of Inner City Security? There's a beat of silence, and Marcy takes the opportunity to finish making her pot of coffee and put it on to brew. She still can't smell it. A pounding has started between her temples. We have reason to believe that the intruder is a lieutenant within the Toad Army with considerable weight. King Andreas think it advisable to consider them as a bargaining chip. Marcy frowns. Gosh, that voice is annoying. That's a discussion for the general, not me. He believes that you may be able to get this lieutenant to cooperate. Now Marcy is really confused. Her neck aches. She drags in a breath and reaches up to press against the joint. The coffee maker beeps, and she fumbles for a cup for a couple seconds before giving up and lifting the steaming pot to her lips. She barely feels it burn her lips and slide down her throat without so much as a wince of protest. It tastes just like it smells. I've never been good with people. Captain Marcy, how long have you been on shift? Marcy blinks a few times and squints. She remembers clocking in. She had a lunch break about... How long ago was that? Has she seen Anne yet today? Is today Friday? Another beat of silence. Silence has never bothered Marcy, but she finds that usually people only give it to her when she gives them something they aren't expecting. It usually doesn't spell anything good for her. It's Sunday. Oh. Morning? It's 8 at night, Captain. Huh. She does a quick mental calculation. She clocked in at 6 right after talking with Anne and the planters. 98 hours, not counting breaks. How long can humans go without sleep? She takes another gulp of coffee and mentally sifts through years' worth of insomnia-induced research sprees. Currently undocumented, but I believe the record was 264 hours or just over 11 days. Oh, but most of your symptoms of sleep deprivation set in at the 36-hour mark. It is recommended for most individuals to get between 8 to 9 hours of sleep every 24 hours. Captain! After 48 hours, the individual may begin to experience bouts of microsleep, an involuntary state of sleep that can last up to 30 seconds. After 72 hours, most individuals will be forced to fall asleep as their body cannot stay awake without help. Hence, she lifts the pot. Caffeine. The newt stares at her with what she can only assume is mounting horror. She doesn't care. She stopped feeling emotions at some point after the 48-hour mark. Does this beat her record? 98 hours is only how long she's been on shift. She was up before that. Another 12 hours at least. That makes 110 hours. Not quite. 10 more, then she'll be there. My apologies. My filter goes out the window after the first 24 hours. Noted. The newt finally responds. They sound... She can't tell. It isn't a good sound, though. Oh well. Anyway, King Andy is going to call for someone else. I've got like a -2 in charisma, so I doubt it'd be any help. You should really consider a break. Marcy scowls. We're in a war, Lieutenant. Corporal. Whatever. She drains the rest of the pot of coffee in a couple of long gulps and brushes the back of her hand against her mouth. I can sleep when I'm dead. She about faces and begins the trek back to her office. After a moment, she hears the newt's footsteps begin to follow. Well, Captain, the king believes you will have a special interest in this lieutenant. The voice is still graining to her ears. Just spit it out already. I'm not getting any younger. It's the human. She freezes. Her hand is on her doorknob. Did she? No. She wouldn't be that stupid. This is a hallucination brought on by sleep deprivation. Not the first. Could you repeat that? The human, the blonde human, she's the one. You said she was in the hospital district? Yes. And you had an idea of her target? Yes, she was in Lady Anne. Marcy's crossbow arrow buries itself into the floorboards. She hadn't meant to fire, but it's hooked to her wrist. If she clenches her fist in a certain way, then... No matter. Where is she? Captain? Wrong answer. She whirls around and grabs the newts by the collar. She's never been very muscled, but Amphibia has given her a lot of things, including the ability to lift at least 50 pounds with each hand. Where is she? The gulp is audible, and it sends all the hairs on her arms standing at attention. Cell block 20. She drops the newt and begins her one-woman crusade towards the prison. She barely makes it 5 steps before the earth lurches beneath her unpleasantly. Her vision washes back and forth as she falls forward. Someone shouts. She doesn't know who, and she tries to force her eyes to focus once more. But her arms won't cooperate with her to reach up and to massage her eyes. They won't push up against the ground, won't let her pull herself back to her feet. She has to get up. She can't really remember why, but the urgency has a home within her chest, and no amount of exhaustion will quell that. Her hands finally press against the ground, and she tries to push. Pain pulsates through her skull, and the world fades away.